Robert could not be here tonight, and so we are honored that he asked us to come and speak for him. My mom, I'm Bunny Riddles. My mom was Betty, and she's the one that handled and directed and wrote the melodramas, or the Nellie dramas for the folks. And so my dad's here as well. And we were a major part of this family and this group of friends. We had many friends there that we just loved dearly. We did have the honor of being at the original premiere of the showing last year in New Orleans. And we were blessed in knowing and getting the opportunity to meet all the family members of the people who had been affected by this fire. And we've made friends with them, and we've told stories, and we've shared our own families since then. And it's been such a blessing to our lives. But the true blessing is the fact that because of this film, because of what Robert's done, he has brought honor to these people and given them a name that they did not have before. And they weren't just queers. They were friends. We loved them. They were family members. And so I know it was different back then, not really terribly much, but this made a name for them, and we were very honored to be a part of this and to be able to share with Robert and give him pictures and the stories that we had as well. And he asked us to come in and be here for the questions, and we wanted to know if you had any questions or comments that you'd like to make. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Valerie.
Hi, Valerie.
How long did it take you guys to put all this together, like do the research into the people and the family and the friends, and then actually bring it all together? It's 40 years in the making, actually.
Right. Well, according to what Robert had told us, it took a couple of years, and one of the problems was when he did go to New Orleans, a lot of the files and records had been destroyed. Katrina had been there, and a lot of them, of course, had also been, destroyed or shoved aside because they were not important. And so I know that it took several years for him to do this. I know he went and interviewed quite a few people because he came and interviewed us, and some of the family members wanted to share, some did not, and that's their choice, not ours. But I do know it took him quite a while to get all the information together.
I think he did quite a job in doing the investigative background. He found out things I didn't know about. He was trying to get a hold of Betty to interview her, but she died a couple of months before he got a hold of Bunny. And so he set up an interview with me, and I spoke with him about 3 hours. And we discussed things that he knew about. I told him about the jukebox, the cash register, the cigarette machine had been emptied before they had all the bodies out. And I told him about that because I thought he needed to know something about it. He said, yes, he had been to the fire department museum, and the machines are in there, and it's obvious they had been hacked into. So before the bodies were out, all the machines had been emptied. That was the attitude of the people in the town at that time. Since then, it's changed an awful lot. The fire, I think, brought out a lot of things, like the fire inspector came and gave a talk at the premiere. Due to the things they found as a result of the fire and their investigation about the material, and they even had a piece of the material from the wall, the red felt, in their museum. They had, and the fire department did the best investigation that was done. That's where Robert got most of his information. He had access to it through his friends there. The bar now belongs to a guy down below that owns the bar down below. It wasn't a bar then, but the bar down below, he owns it, all the building, and he's preserved the second floor as it is for historical purposes. After the fire, I'd been on a detail for about a week. I missed the fire, I missed the service and everything else. And I got back, and Buddy and Phil had me come up. I went by, and he was showing me the fire. and they're talking about the bars on the windows. There were metal bars by the air conditioner, but the other bars were just strips of wood that they had just tacked up there with short nails. And they were talking about in the newspaper how they had the barred windows kept them from getting out. And Buddy went up and grabbed some, look, he grabbed one and pulled it off with one hand, pulled it loose. But with all of the people pressing against those pieces of wood, they couldn't get out. And we went out through the back door, and you go out through the theater, and behind the stage, there was a landing there, and then steps that went down, and the bar next door, the midship bar, people sometimes would come out there and talk and smoke a cigarette. But so they went out through there and down, and they sat across the street through the rooftop, but he told me that they'd gone through the bar. So I don't know what the deal was there. But I knew a lot of these people, they were special. I was in law enforcement, they trusted me. My wife was like a mother to a bunch of them. And so they trusted her, and she wrote those melodramas, and they loved it. People were coming after the third show, people were coming from California and New York just to see the upstairs lounge in the bar.
As you saw the picture, she did not do it small. She definitely did it upright.
But all of the things that Robert did on this, he did extensive research, and he did a beautiful job, I thought. Having known the details of the fire and all of the things that happened, and known the people there. They were like a family. They were loners, a lot of them, but they got off of work, they'd come there to have a drink. They didn't bother anybody. They wanted to be left alone. When they saw the stage back there in the back room, Buddy and Phil were showing us around, and we saw the stage and didn't know what was going to do with that room. They had light drops about every 3 feet. It had been a gambling place. And I said, and Betty said, well, you have a stage, we can have a theater. And Phil said, well, we can't get any girls to come up here. They won't come up. And Betty said, you guys are in drag all the time anyway. Why not? So Phil said, that's an idea. So they asked their clients that came in, and every one of them were excited. And people who had been kind of standoffish and alone, when they got together with the theater and we went through it, they became a family. Betty and I told him what needed to be on the stage for curtains, for lighting, and how to pull the curtains, when, and all of that. And then she gave them directions on acting. And they fell into it, and they loved it, and some of them, man, they did a beautiful job. It was really something. So they were kind of special people. After about the third show, at first, the local theater people, they wouldn't touch it. It was a gay bar. They weren't about to set foot in there. After the third show got publicity from New York and California, then we want to be in part of this. So they kind of moved in, and Betty and I stepped back, and they took over there, and several of them wrote plays, and were having tremendous success. And so it was something kind of special that Robert did. I went to the opening, and he thanked us for coming there. And I said, Robert, these were people that we knew, and we felt like we owed it to 32 souls to be here, to tell the people what they want to know about him. They were very special people. Buddy and Adam babysit my daughters. They were close friends. Anything I wanted to know, I could find out through the gay community, because they trusted me, because they knew I wasn't going to come back and tell some other agency, so-and-so told me something. And the task force, the first criminal organized crime task force in New Orleans, they needed information. I came up to them and told them what it was. They said, how'd you find that out? We've been trying to find out. I said, and then Bird told me, and that was it. Because it would have been bad for some of the people. But those people, they trusted me, they trusted Betty, and they were like family to us too. And that was, there was something special. So we feel like that we have to be here answer questions, to give you our opinions, what we thought that, you know, like those Reverend, Richardson was one of the finest men.
Yeah,
I've
Father
ever
Bill
known.
was amazing. We went to
He
St.
was
George's,
something.
and I believe my mom had something to do with.
She went there quite often. I didn't go very often.
Getting that, but-
They offered, invited me. He kept saying, come on down to the church on Sunday. Well, I'm busy, I'm doing it. Well, come on down. So one Sunday I went down there. I told him, said, now if I go, the wall's probably gonna fall in. So, I was, you know, in other aspects about that time. But after I went that Sunday, the next day, there was a crack about that wide from the top of the church. The next time I saw Bill Richardson, he just looked at me. Didn't say a word.
Yeah.
But he looked at me kind of weird. So, but anyway, these people, they were kind of special people. And to know them like we did, we didn't know all of them. The latter ones here, some of them I didn't know at all because they came in after I transferred down here. But,
One of the things that I think drew Robert to this, he had done another film, Raid of the Rainbow Lounge. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you definitely do need to check that out. But a friend had come to him and said, why don't you do a film about the upstairs lounge? And he said, what are you talking about? And being a member of the community, he had no clue. And at the time, this was the largest gay mass murder. And I'm sorry to say it's not anymore, because we've had another in Orlando since. But that was one of the things that he just was, I think, almost embarrassed that he did not know about this. And I think his goal was to bring this out so that people would understand that this had a meaning, that this, you know, hopefully this would change things. Hopefully this will make a difference. And I do believe that with this film, it'll make a big difference. And we want you to go on to, we do have a Facebook page, and we'd love for you, there's a card out front, and we'd love for you to go onto the Facebook page and like this movie so it can continue to go on and become a lot more popular, and more people will be able to see this so they can understand the background and understand the issues. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a question. This is going to be very personal to you, but
Okay.
just after watching this one time, I am so torn up.
Oh.
How can you sit through it and watch it over and over again?
I will tell you, I still cry every time. It's still emotional. I see something different each time. But it's, at the time, I did not understand. I was a teenager. That was my 5 minutes of fame, in case y'all didn't, you saw the little teenager over there? That was me. But it's emotional to me because I remember now a lot of things my mom did not share with me at the time. But I remember watching her and her sadness, and now I understand, going back, I understand a lot more. There were a lot of things in the film that I did not know. Like you said, there were a lot of things that Robert found out. But they were very emotional, especially with Buddy and Adam. They were Uncle Buddy and Aunt Adam, and they came and babysat, and you know, they were part of the family. So knowing that this had happened, the tragedy, it's very hard to watch. It's very hard to watch, but it's so important that we don't keep this covered up and keep this down, because you know, we can't make it better unless we do something about it. And people need to see this.
it's difficult for people to understand
Yes.
how different the feelings are now as they were then.
Yes.
What is the building now? It's a bar? or-
No, it's still there.
Oh.
There's a bar on the corner underneath.
Is it Gemini? Is that what it's?
Gemini.
Or Gemini?
The guy owns the bar there, and he also owns access to the building there. And before, it had been a butcher shop, years before. And there were two levers down there that the butcher chopped his lever up.
Oh.
And people were they closed up after that, so people were wondering maybe he was selling some of the meat or something.
Oh, that was before.
That's
the-
another
That was
movie.
all that long.
That's a whole
movie,
other movie
yeah.
right there.
But then, the bar was not there when the upstairs was. And the third floor, it had been a railway express, the elevators and everything. When Buddy was up there, I went up and helped him take off the linoleum on the floor. to get ready to prepare the place for opening. And there were newspapers under there from 1939 and 1940. And I have some of the newspapers at home. I have to get those to the Fire Museum.
And that's another hoarders episode right there.
I'm a collector of beautiful things. Describing the Hitler going into Poland and all of that. And the Times-Picayune newspapers were used for padding under the linoleum. So I have some of those that were there. And up in the attic where the drawworks for the elevator was, back in the back, the winos and everybody else over the years, there were Barrett's cocaine bottles, back when cocaine could be purchased in a drugstore. And whiskey bottles and nothing what else, but,
And now it's storage, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that-
yeah.
they've kept it.
I didn't know if there were any plans to make it like a museum or memorial or anything, 'cause
he's maintaining it
Oh.
as such.
Yeah.
Nobody, Robert was able to get access to it, and occasionally other people have access to the bar. It's just like it was. They left it like it
Okay.
was.
I mean, 'cause I've been to New Orleans many times, and
Yeah.
I probably passed by the building and didn't
Yeah.
even know what it was, or I didn't even know that plaque was there.
But that's,
or
and that's
anything.
fairly
Yeah,
recent, so
it's on
that's.
Iberville, right there by where the door was. And-
When did they install the plaque?
Pardon?
When did they install the
I think
plaque?
it said
2013.
2013,
Yeah.
2013, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that
It
long.
has all
so.
of the names of the people that died on the plaque.
And
The
that's
city
very
put the
emotional,
plaque
I will
on.
tell you that, that's a very emotional, and I'm spiritual as far as reading people, but when I stood on that plaque, it was, or next to that plaque, it was almost like they were there with us. You could just feel the people there and the love.
What's the emblem that's on there? How did that come about? 'Cause I know it's a triangle, but the emblem in the middle is.
You know, I don't know.
I don't know.
It almost looks
I
like a
don't know history.
torch. or-
It's a
It
torch
looks
of
kinda
some
like-
sort,
that's what I
right,
thought. I said maybe it
right,
looked
it's a
like a torch or
torch.
something.
And I don't know, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to ask Robert that one.
Yeah, Robert will know.
Up there? You have a
Any other
question?
questions?
Oh, Any comments?
Well, we thank you very much for being here, and we really, I just definitely have to tell Robert the response was so wonderful, because I know he'll be thrilled with that. And again, he's sorry he couldn't be here, but he did want me to say that he just, the movie was not about him. The movie is to honor these people, and that was the gift that he was able to give, was to be a part of this and to honor these family members, or the families, and he just has all the respect in the world for the families that were touched by this, and it goes down and continues to go down as far as meeting people and learning about things, so.
At the first premiere, the parents of Ferris came down wanting to know if I knew him. They didn't know, later they found out that he was.
Yeah, they didn't know he had died at the
But
time.
they didn't know
Ferris
he had
LeBlanc.
died at the time, and then they heard about, he had been to New Orleans, and they got to thinking, well, maybe the fire was there, so they came down asking questions. And they asked me at the premiere if I remembered it, and I didn't remember him myself. Because I didn't, I went down for the productions, and I usually, if I went in, it was during the daytime to talk to somebody, and then I was gone and out doing my thing on the river or wherever. But a lot of the guys I didn't know there, but the ones that I did know, they were regulars, and they were special people. And
It was quite an honor to have known them,
they
and
were something special.
I'm glad that something good has now come out of this for our purpose, so.
But the main thing is, as a result of the fire investigations, all of the materials that they use then are forbidden. They have to have 2 exits and have to be lighted. And the fire director at the premiere said that as a result of the investigation and changes that were made, lives have been saved because of it. So that in itself is something that good came out of it, besides a better understanding. And but Bill Richardson was somebody special. You don't meet many people like him. Phil, after I went back years later, and Phil had opened another bar down behind, on the other side of the French Quarter, upriver, or downriver. And I had a sign I'd taken off the gate out at our place in Freer, the Texas Cattle Raisers Association And down there, all the signs have bullet holes in them. Everybody shoots at them. So I got one of those signs and took down and put it up in his new bar. He just tickled to death about that. Buddy, they had so many people doing articles and
False
Dillian and Townsend
representations.
both doing movies. And he would do an interview, and then when they would write the report, some of these other people write a report, they contorted things around, distorted everything. And he just got tired of it. He and another person he met are living together in Arkansas, but they don't want anything to do with it. I wanted to contact him and talk to him as a friend. And I had his address, but I haven't got up the courage to get with him yet because I don't want him to be reminded of these things. I want him to know what he was to us and our family, but I don't want to bring up old pains. It would be that, I'm afraid. So he stays to himself. He never talks to anyone. He won't do any interviews about the fire. He just, it's a thing of the past that he used to forget. But Buddy was a special person. So he'd been the bartender while my wife was executive secretary at Holiday Inn. And that's how we met him. Then he left the bar and went over and worked with Phil and for the other one. But they were all special people.
Very much.
And I just, but the main thing, how far our culture and civilization has come to where it's so different now and people don't have to hide and fear anything that they did back then. It was, man, it was rad.
I work at a local high school. One of the things I was sharing with the kids the other day was that how lucky they are to not have to hide that. I have quite a few gay friends, and they do too, and it's okay now to say, I have gay friends. It's okay to say, I'm gay, you know, that's a miracle compared to what we saw here. And I keep telling them it's amazing to be able to step out and say that without having to hide, because you literally could not tell people, you know, back then, he was not kidding. You couldn't tell them that you knew gay people because then, or that you were gay because you lost your job. And hopefully we've gotten better about that. I think the world's gotten to be a little bit better.
Most definitely.
Mhm. Well, thank you again for coming. We really
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
coming
it.
and providing this.
I feel like we owe it to 32 souls. That's, I owe a lot of people to a lot of other people in Korea, and I put 25 years in law enforcement. And there's some things you don't forget. You forget, you try to, but you never forget some things. And that fire is something I always live there. Think about these people and remember them, and you try to remember the good times, forget the other bad. Always remember the good times, that will lift you up over the hard times. And, so, again, we thank you for coming. And urge anyone you know, if they get a chance to see this movie, to see it.
Definitely will.
It's really something.
It's very uplifting. In watching it, it's, when you see something like that and how, like we were saying, how far we've come, and to think that, you know, sometimes this can still happen in our society, and that's just, it's heart-wrenching to think and to imagine. But thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed your trip.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
So you're gonna stick around and play with us for a while, or?
Sure.
Okay. What are we doing next?